Hello and welcome to the National Marine Aquarium in Plymouth. My name is Xavier and today we're going to be having a look around the Plymouth Sound area of our aquarium. Everything that we can find in the Plymouth Sound area you can find in the real Plymouth Sound, which is just out there and across the southwest coast of the UK. So let's get started. I'm going to have a look at the very first inhabitant of the aquarium that you meet when you come, which is Raoul, who is our European lobster. So Raoul, we're not quite sure how old he is, but he's very big. Lobsters are biologically immortal, so there's no reason why he would die other than disease or predation or being caught. So within him, they could live to over 100, 150 years old if they were living in a super safe environment. So theoretically, one would hope that Raoul here could live at this aquarium forever. So he's being fed now, and one of the most outstanding things about lobsters is their big claws. So they have these two big claws from their front legs. If you can tell, they're actually a little bit different from each other. So one of the claws, its left claw, you can see, is chunkier and thicker, and that is its crushing claw. So it uses that claw to break through shells, or carapaces, or cut up fish, and then its right claw is its cutter. So its right claw is a lot thinner and longer and pointier, and that's what it uses to cut up prey into more manageable mouthfuls and bring it to its mouth. Is it dangerous? No, it's not dangerous. You needn't be scared of lobsters. However, I wouldn't want to put my finger in its claws because they are very, very strong. So it wouldn't be the most enjoyable experience. Hi Eddie and all in Manchester. Welcome to our live stream. I hope you're enjoying meeting Raoul. So yeah, we're just feeding him now, and he pull his food up to his mouth and he'll start chewing away at that and having a grand old time. So we're feeding him a prawn. Lobsters are opportunistic scavengers, so they will eat pretty much anything that they can come across, whether it's a fallen dead animal or an injured animal or a hermit crab or a little crustacean that's found hidden away, and it will just get whatever it can get its hands on. Why is it blue? So that's a good question. With European lobsters, it's a lot more common for them to be blue, but lobsters actually have blue blood. It's like a blue sort of semi-clear colour, and this is because they have copper in their blood, which is what oxygen binds to, as opposed to we have iron, and iron makes it go red. The American lobster, the blue ones are extremely rare. So within the European lobster, they're not particularly rare to be blue, but American lobsters, it's about 1 in 200 million, they reckon, is blue. You used to have a lobster called Pinchy who sadly passed away. It is very sad when we lose an animal like this, especially when they grow so old. They can be very personable animals. Hi William and Charlotte in Surrey. Hi Robin in Shropshire. How long do they live? So I mentioned it earlier, but they are biologically immortal. So as long as they don't get ill or hurt or caught or anything like that, they could technically live forever. So they just molt their exoskeleton every time they grow a little bit more, and they could do that over and over and over again until they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they've found European lobsters up to 1 meter long. So really, really big, really, really big. Hi Huxley, how's it going? Cool. So just enjoy hanging out with Raoul here for a couple more minutes. Watch him use that cutting claw in action and get involved with the crushing claw. So lobsters are quite well known for being like really tasty and quite expensive food items. But they didn't used to be so expensive. It was actually seen as a poor man's food. And back when America was being colonized, It was used often to feed like the poorer people because they would just wash up on the beaches, and they were known as bugs, and they weren't, oh, I see that cutting claw in action. Yeah. They're a little bit more rare now due to fishing and being targeted because they are a good commercial species. But look at him go, look at all his little mouthpieces pulling it apart. So what colour can lobsters be? Lobsters can be lots of different colours. The European lobster usually ranges from like a blue to a dark greeny brown. The reason why we think of lobsters as orange or red in popular culture is because that's what they look like when they've been cooked, which is very, very sad to think about when you're looking at Raoul here. How much do they eat? So a lobster could just keep eating and eating, and eventually it will fill up its stomach and give up. But probably about a prawn is a good meal for a lobster this size. So we're going to leave Raoul now. Everyone say thank you and goodbye to Raoul. Really, can they live together forever? Yes, as long as they're not hunted or caught or get diseases. So lobsters can be prone to diseases and injury and stuff like that. But yes, they can continue living and molting and growing bigger and bigger as long as they're not killed by something else. So we're going to have a look at the tide tank. So one of the bonuses, one of the few positives about the lockdown, not having the public here, is it gives us a really good opportunity to give some of our tanks a bit of maintenance, a bit of a clean, and a bit of an update and rejuvenation. But what's lovely about this at this time, while we're doing the live streams, it actually gives us a really good show of what a low tide rock pool could be like. So you can see how the water is completely left. If you think of this as a rock pool, and this is obviously like our seaweed, it shows that the stress that these species and organisms can be put under by a changing tide cycle. So within the tide going from high tide to low tide, it can experience a range of temperatures, from the temperature of the water to the temperature of the air, a range of salinities. So as the tide gets lower and the water in the rock pools start to evaporate, the salinity goes up, so it gets saltier, so they've got to be quite hardy animals, as well as being exposed to the open air and risking drying out and dying. Okay, so they're really, really hardy creatures, and that's why everything on our rocky shores and really cool hardy creatures, because they have to put up with a lot of change over a very short period of time. Twice a day they could go through temperature changes from 9 degrees to 9 to 24 degrees, or even -3 up to, who knows, depends on the weather. Theon age 5, where do you find rock pools? So you can find rock pools all over our UK coastline. So we have a really nice rocky geology around the UK. So if you look on the beaches, not sandy beaches, but the rocky beaches, you'll find these little pools that as the tide goes down, it leaves them an isolated little swimming pool for all the creatures to live in. Yeah, just a reminder, guys, if you wanted to make a donation, it would be greatly appreciated. Any donation goes towards habitat restoration projects and vital conservation research, but to make sure that you're clicking on the link that we provide in our posts and not any links that are posted down below, as we've had some issues with dodgy links. Alright, so we're just going to take a little look at some other tanks here. Oh, this is a lovely tank. Okay, so in here, this is our tank to show some of the creatures that are born in egg cases. So some sharks and stingrays and skates, they are born live birth, a bit like us. So they're born from the mother and they come out swimming. But some of them are born in egg cases. So the egg cases, you can see some pictures up here, and I actually have one here and one here. So this is the egg case of a ray. You can tell it's a ray because it's wider and a little bit squatter. And this is the egg case of a shark. So a small cat shark. So if you look at them, what do they look like? They actually look a lot like seaweed. And that's because they're laid amongst seaweed as a way to hide them from predators. So they're made of a tough, leathery material that makes them really strong, as well as blending in perfectly. So this guy here, this guy is named Snap. And Snap is a lesser spotted dogfish, or a lesser spotted cat shark. So you can see they're quite long and thin, and they've evolved like this, adapted to be able to fit in tiny little holes between rocks and crevices, either to escape predators or to find prey. So they'll eat all sorts. They can eat small fish, little crustaceans, little shrimp or squid, or whatever really it can get its hand on. But they will snap at moving prey. This one is a little baby one, so he wasn't born too long ago, probably about a few months ago. He was in this, about this size, and now look at him, giving us a smile. So the egg cases are also known as mermaid's purse, and it's probably quite likely, if you've ever done rock pooling before, that you found one hidden amongst some seaweed. So depending on the health of the mermaid's purse, so if it's still in the water, what you can usually see is the embryo, so the baby shark, developing inside it. So this makes it a really useful species for research, because you can literally watch the shark develop from egg all the way through its embryonic stages into baby shark, a pup. So baby sharks are called pups like this, and then come out without damaging the shark. So it's really useful for research. One of a similar species to our lesser spotted cat shark here is known as the Port Jackson shark. Sort of a similar, closely related, but lives in Port Jackson in Australia. And instead of laying long, thin eggs like these, they lay spiral eggs, which they twist into the substrate, into the ground or into crevices and rocks to keep it still. But they look super, super weird. So the ray in here is a small-eyed ray, and he is hidden away somewhere. I think he's on the right there. You can just about see his eye, maybe. You can just about make him out. So the small-eyed rays and small rays like this, they are actually ambush predators, and they'll eat little fish, little crabs, little shrimp, little squid that go by, and they'll keep an eye on it as it swims past with their tiny little eyes that you can see there, and then they'll pop up and eat whatever comes by. But his name is Crackle. And these guys can grow up to about 90 centimeters. Some of the biggest ones found are about 90 centimeters. So although he's quite small now, as it gets bigger and bigger, we can move him to bigger tanks, and hopefully he'll grow to a big old size. And the second to last guy we've got in here is a plaice. So some of you may have even eaten a plaice before. They're really common around the UK shorelines, and they're really good commercial species. They can grow up to 1 meter long, so they can grow really, really big. And they reckon that some of the oldest ones can reach up to 50 years, which is very, very cool. So with plaice, they actually start off, as you can see, both their eyes are on one side of their head, but actually they start off their life with both their eyes on either side of their head, so one eye on either side of the head, just like a regular fish. But the fry, once they've settled and they found a spot they like to live, They'll lie down on the bottom of the sea, on the seabed, and their eyes will slowly migrate round their body to the right side of their head. So with some flatfish, the eyes can migrate to either side of the head. Some flatfish, they only migrate to the left, but with our place here, the eyes, the vast majority of the time, are always on the right side of its head. So it's lying on its left with its eyes on its right side. But these are another guys that like to bury in sand for protection and for hunting prey. There's a hermit crab in there as well at the back. So we do like to name as many of our critters as possible. So this guy is called Coco. So Coco is a common hermit crab, Pagaris bernhardus. And they don't get very big. He's probably reaching his full size there. There are over 1,000 species of hermit crab, and what they do is they, unlike lobsters and crabs, their second half of their body, their tail half of their body, is a lot softer. It's not got this hard exoskeleton, so they need to borrow a hard shell from somewhere else, which is where they get their name from, because they get their little shells of winkles or top shells or whatever it can find. And every time they molt, they'll change shells. And if they can't find a shell to molt into, they might steal one off another hermit crab. But what I think is really cute, and I think it was on a planet, blue planet, one of the blue planets, but you get what's known as a little conga line, a little hermit crab conga line. So when the largest hermit crab in a community, so despite being called hermits, they're actually quite social creatures, and they live in communities of up to 100. And when the largest crab in a community is ready to molt and change shells, once he's found his new shell, all the other hermit crabs will line up in size order behind him, and they'll all move up one size of shell. It'll be like a little hand-me-down system, and they'll move up one shell. So Coco will get to about this big. Someone asked how big he'll get. He'll get to about this big. But we also have another hermit crab, a different species in the aquarium, called Hercules. Oh, not Hercules, it's Hulk. Yes, and he is massive. And one of the problems that Hulk has is because he's so big, it's really hard to find him a shell that fits him. So we're looking for someone to sort us out a big shell for Hulk. We're trying to get work with a university to get a 3D printed shell for Hulk so that he's able to molt and grow bigger. So if you wanted to meet Hulk, in about 2 weeks, we're going to do another Facebook Live where he's going to be part of that video. Cool, so we'll say goodbye to Coco, Snap, Crackle and Pop, and we'll move on to our Sticklebacks. So, Sticklebacks are estuarine species. They live at the end of estuaries in the saltwater part, but they can live in both freshwater and saltwater. These are 3-spine stickleback. There are other species of stickleback, but these ones you can just about see. It's got its anterior dorsal fin is made up of these 3 spines. So these are really, these are actually really interesting fish, although they may just look like little silvery guys or little minnows. They actually have lots of interesting adaptations that have enabled them to be really successful. So they've got bony plates on their backside, so on the flanks and their back they have these bony plates to protect them from mild predation. And there's a great variation in different populations of these. But one thing they all have in common is that the males, when it's breeding season, their bellies turn a really deep, dark red. and that's to attract the females. And then they have this elaborate courtship ritual that is really interesting to watch, where the males will build a little nest in the substrate out of algae and seaweed and whatever else it can find. It will dig a little hole in its nest, and then it will do a zigzag dance, and it's known as a zigzag dance. So the male will zigzag up to the female coming from its nest, and then it will turn around and zigzag back to its nest, and hopefully the female will follow it, where she'll lay thousands of eggs in his nest, which he'll then protect with his life. So what is my favourite fish? My favourite fish in this area is probably these guys, the Sticklebacks, purely because there's a lot to be learned about them and there's a lot of research that's been done on them. So let's say goodbye to the Sticklebacks, and let's move on to our last tank we're going to show you today, which has our boarfish and our snipe fish in. So we have quite a famous boarfish at the aquarium called Denzel, who lives in our rock pool, in our tide pool, but we have a few more boarfish in here. So one of the things about boarfish is they have really big eyes, especially compared to a lot of the other fish we have in this area of this aquarium. So having big eyes is really helpful. And it's really helpful because it allows you to see a lot better when it's darker. And what that can tell us about the boarfish is that it lives deeper underwater than most of the other fish in this area. So actually, the depth range of a boarfish can be between 70 and 700 meters. So they can go really, really deep. If you listen closely, you might be able to hear the snipe fish eating. So the snipe fish are the guys with the long mouths. They're also known as trumpet fish or bellowfish. And can you hear the snapping? Well, I can hear it through here. I don't know if you can hear it through the phone. Alright, so one of the interesting things about snipe fish, there are lots of interesting things. If you look at their mouths, what do their mouths remind you of? Can you think of any other sea creatures that have long, tubey mouths like that? Yes, we have one person. What can we think of? What other animal, what other marine animal has a long, tubey mouth like that? There's no one said it. So they're actually related to seahorses and pipefish. So they're all in the same family. So their long mouth enables them to pick small crustacean and plankton and krill from within the substrate or off the surface. So the binomial name, the official name for the snipe fish is a Macroramphus scolopax. And what Macroramphus means is great beak, which I think really is fitting because look at the size of their beak on that. Yeah, the seahorse. We do have some seahorse in the aquarium, but I don't think we're going to be able to get onto them today. So, has anyone got any questions that I can answer for you now? Goblin shark. Oh, that's a good fish. It's a good fish to know. Not related to these guys, but yeah, crazy looking animal. So today we're only able to show you this much, but when we reopen, please make sure you come on down and you can see all the rest that we have to offer. There's lots to see, We've got over 260 different species in the aquarium. Lots and lots of tanks and lots of different characters to show. So do the fish have names? Yes, we name as many fish as we can, especially the cuter ones or the goofier ones or the most interesting ones. Why American lobsters red? Well, American lobsters are red when they're cooked. So actually when they're not cooked, they're not quite as red a colour, but when they're cooked, the pigmentation in their shell changes and they become red and darker. So what's the biggest fish we have? We have a very large shark. I think it's our lemon shark or one of our sand tigers that's over around 2.5-ish meters long. Jonathan, I'm glad to hear your aquarium. The aquarium is your favourite place. It's my favourite place too. We can't wait to have you guys back here. When are we live again? We will be live again next Wednesday. I'm not entirely sure what time yet. It's to be decided. But it's on the... Oh, it's on... Oh, so Monday. Next Monday is World Oceans Day. So actually we have a lot on Monday. So check our website and check our Facebook page for more and more information about what's happening on World Ocean Day. And we're also doing a turtle feed on Monday as well. So that's Friday, our big green turtle, quite the character, getting fed on Monday. So we're going to wrap up in a minute. I just really want to thank you all for joining us on this live stream. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed talking about all the creatures we have here. We really look forward to seeing you all when we're open back up again. And I really would like you all to come and join us so we can show you more of the interesting creatures and the diversity we have here. So remember guys, to look after yourselves, look after our oceans, and look out for what we're up to on Monday on World Oceans Day. So if we say goodbye to the snipe fish and the boarfish, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.